Let's be honest for a second. Have you ever looked at your bank balance and thought, if only I had a few more zeros at the end of this number? Poverty isn't just a statistic, it's a pain. It's a lack of opportunity, a weight on the shoulders of billions, and the single greatest barrier to human potential. If the world's biggest problem is a lack of money, and the government is the one that owns the printing presses, then why don't they just flip the switch? Why not print $1 billion for every single citizen? Instantly, debt vanishes. Everyone can afford a home, a car, and a comfortable life. It sounds like a perfect solution, a utopia on Earth, right? But if it's that easy, why do the world's most brilliant economists fight so hard against it? Why do nations still struggle with taxes, budgets, and austerity? The truth is, free money carries a price tag that is terrifyingly high. It can transform a thriving nation into a wasteland in a matter of months. In this deep dive video, we aren't just going to talk about inflation. We are going to deconstruct the true nature of money, the collapse of empires, and the reason why the printing press is actually a weapon of mass destruction for the economy. To understand the danger of the printing press, we first have to strip away the ink and paper and ask, what is money really? Before dollars and cents, if you wanted a loaf of bread, you had to offer something the baker wanted, maybe a chicken. This is bartering. But bartering is hard. What if the baker doesn't want your chicken? What if your chicken is sick? To solve this, humanity invented a placeholder for value. Money is simply a claim check on the world's goods and services. When you hold a $20 bill, you aren't holding wealth, you are holding a promise. A promise that says, I did something useful for society, and in exchange, I can now take $20 worth of stuff back from society. The economy is a delicate balance. On one side, you have the total supply of money. On the other, you have everything society produces, the bread, the cars, the haircuts, and the iPhones. If you double the amount of money without doubling the amount of bread, you haven't created wealth. You have simply diluted the value of every dollar already in existence. Think of it like pouring a gallon of water into a single can of soup. You have more liquid, but the soup hasn't become any more nutritious. It's just thinner. Let's revisit our town with 5 stickmen: Bob, John, Alex, Jack, and Tony. Every day they go to the bakery. There are only 5 loaves of bread and each costs $5. Everyone has exactly $5. It's a perfect, stable equilibrium. But then the government rains money down. Now everyone has $100. Bob arrives at the bakery first. He doesn't want 1 loaf anymore, he wants 4. He feels rich, but the baker looks at the crowd behind Bob. He sees John, Alex, and the others all waving $100 bills. The baker isn't a villain, he's a businessman. He realizes that if he keeps the price at $5, he will sell out in seconds and have nothing left for the rest of the day. So he raises the price to $20, then $50. But here is where the spiral begins. The baker needs flour to make more bread. He goes to the farmer. The farmer says, hey, my workers are demanding higher wages because their rent just went up. Also, I have more money now, so I'm charging more for my wheat. The baker's costs go up. To keep his profit, he raises the bread price to $100. In the end, Bob, who started with $100, can still only afford 1 loaf. He has more paper, but his quality of life hasn't moved an inch. This is the money illusion, and it's a trap that has destroyed nations. If you think this is just a theory, history has some terrifying receipts. Let's look at 3 times humanity tried to print its way to happiness and failed. First, Germany in 1923. After losing World War I, Germany owed a mountain of debt. They printed marks to pay it. Within months, prices doubled every few hours. People used cash to light their stoves because wood was more expensive than money. A loaf of bread that cost 250 marks in January cost 200 billion marks by November. The social chaos that followed paved the way for one of the darkest eras in human history. Next, Zimbabwe in 2008. Following a collapse in food production, the government printed money to survive. Inflation hit 89 sextillion%. They issued a $100 trillion bill, but by the time you walked to the store, that bill might not even buy an egg. Finally, Venezuela. Despite having more oil than Saudi Arabia, they printed money to fund massive subsidies. Today, people weave handbags out of banknotes because the paper is literally worth more as a craft material than it is as currency. The lesson? You can't print prosperity. You can only print paper. You might think, okay, don't give the money to the people, just print it secretly and pay our debts to other countries, like the US or China. Nice try, but the world is watching. International finance is built on exchange rates. When a country floods the market with its own currency, the value of that currency compared to the dollar or euro drops like a stone. Foreign creditors aren't stupid. They monitor inflation and money supply. If they see you're printing toy money, they will demand payment in a stable currency instead, or they will simply stop trading with you. If you owe $1 billion and your currency loses 90% of its value, you don't owe less. You just made your entire country 10 times poorer on the global stage. You can't cheat the system. So, if printing money is a death sentence, how do countries actually get rich? The answer isn't a secret. They produce value. Wealth isn't about how much paper you have. It's about how much stuff you can make. When a country invests in education, builds better factories, and develops new technology, they produce more goods and services. When the supply of goods grows, the money in your pocket gains real power. This is how Japan and South Korea rose from the ashes of war to become global leaders. They didn't print wealth, they built it through engineering, hard work, and innovation. When production goes up, the economic seesaw stays balanced, and everyone's quality of life actually improves. Money is a mirror. It reflects the health and productivity of a nation. If the economy is broken, painting a higher number on a piece of paper won't fix the reality behind it. In the end, you can't eat money. You can't wear money. You can't build a house out of money. You can only use it to trade for the things that people work hard to create. The next time you hear someone say, "Why don't we just print more?" remember the bread, remember Germany, and remember that real wealth is grown, not printed. The best investment you can make isn't in a currency, it's in your own ability to create value in a world that always needs it. Thanks for watching. If this deep dive helped you understand the world a little better, hit that like button and subscribe. Stay curious and stay disciplined.